But let's talk a little bit, for the moment, about Harry and Meghan, because poor old Harry and Meghan haven't had a very good week, have they? South Park has been absolutely lambasting and ridiculing them all week, and apparently they've gone from one mood to another mood. We're told that they're not going to sue South Park, which I'm sure South Park are deliriously happy about, because I'm sure they couldn't have cared less whether they were sued or not. But apparently, not only have they now apparently acquired a sense of humour because they don't mind people making fun of them, their popularity has absolutely plummeted. And believe it or not, going on a worldwide privacy tour on South Park has drawn attention to the fact that they might just be a little bit hypocritical. South Park also brilliantly renamed Harry's book Spare as Wah! Because, of course, that's what it sounds like. That's the noise that he makes whenever he opens his mouth. So it was a spoof of Harry's memoir. But the bad news has gone from bad to worse, I'm afraid, for the ghastly couple from Montecito, the Duke and Duchess of Netlfix, because guess what? They are now actually less popular in the United States of America than Prince Andrew. According to the approval rating people, Harry's approval rating has sunk 48 points to -10. Meghan is also down 40 points to -17. And that's a survey that's been done 4 days after the South Park show. Now, Prince Andrew isn't exactly the world's most popular man, but he's only got a rating of -2. So he's well ahead of Harry and a very long way ahead of Meghan. So I'm afraid it is very, very bad indeed. And all that can happen now is that Harry and Meghan, who have been ridiculed relentlessly, will just go from bad to worse. I think they'll become even more unpopular than ever, and they'll probably have to leave America. I wonder where they'll go next. Maybe they'll go to one of his dream destinations and end up in the continent of Africa, because he's always said he wanted to help Africa. He's always wanted to live there, so maybe that's where he should go. Maybe they might be a bit more popular there than they are in the rest of the world. Who can say? But Harry and Meghan, you've got to feel sorry for them, haven't you? I mean, imagine being that unpopular that actually Prince Andrew is more popular than you. Dreadful. Horrendous. What a nightmare. Harry! Harry! We're more unpopular than your Uncle Andrew! Never mind. He's still got the money. Of course, royal biographer, because the news, I'm afraid, has broken. That unfortunately for old Prince Harry and Mrs. Prince Harry, the Duke and Duchess of Netlfix, they are now more unpopular in America than Prince Andrew, believe it or not. Angela, how could this have happened?
Ah, yes. Well, I think people have got really very, very fed up with them. And they don't like the way they're behaving. They don't like the way they talk to other people. And most of all, I think, they don't like the fact that they are being so vile to their family, whether it's royal or whether it's not. I think people care about families and don't want this continuous attack. Of course, you can get on very badly with your family. You don't have to have anything to do with them. You can leave them. But you don't spend 2 years actually criticising non-stop. It's very hurtful. And I think as well, they can see that the royal family are behaving with enormous dignity and they're not responding. Yes. They don't want to get into a tit-for-tat, nasty argument. But, of course, ordinary people won't take that on this day. They want to have their own voice. And Harry and Meghan have complained that they didn't have their voice. Now they've got it, but they don't want other people to have a voice. And we've had examples of that with a fantastic cartoon that doesn't mention them by name, but does by everything else, what they say, what they wear, everything about them. But they just don't like it. And I think it will have a huge effect on their popularity for a long time.
Well, I think this is the great thing. You know, we've discovered a little bit too late, perhaps, that the best way to fight back against Harry and Meghan is to just make fun of them. You know, I said the other day, isn't it great that they've now come out and said officially that they're not going to sue them, you know, as if they were so pompous that they would do such a thing. And I've basically been encouraging people ever since just to ridicule Harry and Meghan, because it seems to be the best way to treat them. But the South Park method of sort of showing up how horrible and ghastly they are is brilliant. And just because I like playing it, we're going to play it again. Let's have another look.
In Toronto, it's Good Morning, Canada. It has been several months now since our beloved Queen has died. All Canadians are finding it hard to go on. All Canadians, that is, except for our first guest, the Prince and his wife. We want privacy! We want privacy! Thanks for having us on the show. It's so awesome to be here. It's great. So let me start with you, Sam. You've lived a life with the royal family. You've had everything handed to you, but you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it in your new book, Wah. Yes, that's right, friend. You see, my wife and I are totally like, you should write a book because your family like stupid, and then so are like journalists. So you hate journalists. That's right. And now you wrote a book that reports on the lives of the royal family. Right. So you're a journalist. We just want to be normal people. All this attention is so hard. Isn't it true, sir, that your questionable wife has her own TV show and hangs out with celebrities and does fashion magazines? What are you suggesting? Well, I just think some people might say that your Instagram-loving bitch wife actually doesn't want her privacy. How dare you, sir? My Instagram-loving bitch wife has always wanted her privacy. And you know what else? To hell with Canada. We are leaving. We'll go find some quiet place where we can be normal people. Come on, wife. We want privacy. We want privacy. We want privacy.
I mean, you couldn't have done it better, really, could you, Angela? I mean, I never tire of watching it.
No, me neither. They actually go on the hypocrisy, which has annoyed so many of us for so long. And they actually do the closing absolutely accurately, which makes fun of them as well. And then we've got what I think is extremely powerful when Harry says, you know, let's leave this, let's go and do what we said we would. In other words, Meghan has changed it.
Yes.
Although they don't mention her by name, she's not keeping up with the fact that let's go and live under the stars in Africa and look after animals.
Well, they might have to end up there if it gets any worse for them in America, because I was listening. Piers Morgan's been doing his shows from New York all week, and he had a couple of guests on last night talking about this. And they just said, look, Americans, generally speaking, love the royal family. Americans, generally speaking, love their own families. And if you're going to have a go at your own family, you shouldn't be doing it in a book. And also, the one guest he had said, you know, if you're willing to do that to your own family, who else are you going to do it to? And they also invaded loads of other people's privacy and wrote about people without asking them if it was all right. So they're seen as massive hypocrites. And to be more unpopular than Prince Andrew is quite an achievement.
Yes, absolutely. So that's, I think, going to happen. And I've seen when President Biden was walking through, he was seeing all what's going on with the fighting there.
Yes.
And then these two characters popped up. We want our privacy. We want our privacy. And you had to laugh because he was on a serious visit, and they were sort of ruining it because they had to be seen. But the one thing also that affected me was that when Harry said he wanted to go and leave and do what they originally said, and that he would like to forget what other people think about them and just live their own lives. And they said, well, you know, what we need is what's important is what we've got inside, either the compassionate feeling, soul, caring about people. And he opened Meghan's mouth and he looked down and he says, hello. And there's a sort of echo, and you realize there's nothing there. And that was an incredible statement, that they think of her as callous, superficial, not caring about anyone else, just after money. And I think that was a real knock on the head.
Yes.
And I think they have to be very careful. I hope that they'll learn a lesson, that ordinary people can actually make it harder for them and reply, whereas royals can't because of their positions, and then realize that actually they've been rather nasty and what it feels like to have the same thing said about them. I hope it's an eye-opener and they change their spots and become a bit more compassionate. I mean, instead of saying the word, that they believe, you know, be compassionate to those you do know and those you don't know. Well, they do that for neither. But I think they'd learn, but I don't think they will. I don't think they will. No,
I suspect it's going to be very hard for them to become anything different to what they actually are, because they have become themselves. I mean, I think that is it. And afraid, unless you start acting like somebody else. What do you think on the latest manoeuvres on the coronation front? Do you think he's going to? I think he's going to come on his own.
Well, I can't imagine that she will come, even though the feel of having a very, very expensive tiara is a wonderful one. But I think she will find that very hard not to be there so she can be part of yet another TV series. But I think Harry will. I think he is torn. But he might just come for a day and go back. I hope he doesn't, because he's going to come with a surly look and look very sort of fed up.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll say, as he did last time when he came for the Jubilee, that he didn't feel he had a warm enough welcome.
But also, she's got him under this spell, hasn't she? That you get the impression that when he's away from her, he sort of has to check in probably every couple of hours and make sure he rings her to make sure that everything's all right and that he's not doing anything she doesn't want him to do.
Yes, well, he's going to check everything with her. Can I do this? Would you be upset if I did this or said that? But nobody's going to speak to them, I believe, apart from what the weather's like.
Yeah.
Because they don't want everything they say to be taken and used for a financial gain. That's the thing. They now just think about money. And they've got millions and millions already, but it's still not enough. And actually, if you just think about money, where's your interest in it? You know, I just feel, I think William will be very upset if Harry comes, because it puts him in a difficult position. He'll be much more stressed and under strain.
Yes.
If he does come.
Well, also, because if their unpopularity continues apace, their money-making potential is severely limited, because if they're no longer some people that people want to see or hear about or read about, I'm afraid that's going to be the end of the money-making machine, isn't it?
Yes, well, apparently America's like that. Once somebody is out of the spotlight because of the people are bored of them, but how are they going to come back?
It'll be next stop. It'll be a sort of Kardashian-style reality show.
Well, they said they want to do no more about moaning, but they want to do lots of lightweight romantic stories.
Oh, yeah.
So phony, won't it? It'll be just awful. And I think that they need to find something that's significant. Otherwise, they can't do this again. And Meghan's a memoir that's going to come out soon, maybe even before the coronation, which is another slap towards the royal family. I don't think anybody wants to hear her moaning again. One, because she's told so many half-truths. You can't believe it. And secondly, if she hadn't joined the royal family, she wouldn't be known and she wouldn't have millions. So shut up.
Yes, I think that's a pretty good way to end this particular conversation. Well said. Angela Levin, thank you very much indeed.